Jeff Cole, you're not here, right? Okay. We've got 4 presenters today. We're going to start with Andrew Nakas. Oh, Jeff Cole is in front of you. Cool. And he's not here. You're cool with that? Yeah, totally. Awesome. So you go ahead and pick up. We'll get started. They're going to get 9 minutes. I'll be in the back when I start clapping them off stage. Yes. It's going to be recorded in virtual reality. The 360 cameras. Onboarding screen. Okay. Yeah, I just downloaded this. Like, kind of last minute change was like, okay, I'm presenting on the tablet. So switching up a little bit. Cool, let's get started. So I'm going to be talking about the Project Tango, kind of fundamentally breaking it down and explaining how it's going to shift our perceptions of these mobile devices that we have in our pockets. Just real quick background, my name is Andrew Nakas, and I graduated from MSU with a film degree last year. And about halfway through film school, I was like, I like film, but I want to be a nerd, and learn game design, eventually transitioned to virtual reality and development in the Unity 3D game engine. And then about a year and a half ago, I got this Tango tablet in the mail, and it changed my life and just destroyed the presentation. So just to get, I guess, yeah, so I can just go off of it. So pretty much what the Tango tablet is it's made by Google, and it's Google's attempt to give, smartphones a human scale understanding of the world around it. So I usually describe it as they took an Xbox Kinect camera, that camera you dance in front of, and put it on mobile. And so what it is it's a wide-angle camera to understand motion and see the world, and then a depth camera device, a depth sensor and a depth tracker, a depth receiver to measure the world. And it combines both those technologies into what's known as SLAM, which is simultaneous location and mapping. And they've introduced a couple services. The core ones are motion tracking, a depth perception with those 2 sensors, and then this interesting one called area learning. And this is actually combining those technologies to understand the space. And I'm going to go into a little bit of them right now. If you hold it up.
Yeah, when you're holding it up.
And you're holding it like that. That's so strange.
It's hard that it knows when to set it down.
It's playing a joke. Yeah. So, cool. Just real quick, the motion tracking is actually, I think, the most interesting and the most useful technology. And this is partly because it doesn't use any special hardware. It's just one wide-angle camera, and it kind of uses feature detection to do what's called inside-out tracking and understand the world. And actually, like, these coordinates are motion, or the movement that it best guesses how it moves through the space. This is about 1% drift. So if you walk over 100 feet, it's probably going to be 1 foot off. And then the other interesting, huge thing is this is living outside of the Tango platform, and actually is going to be just a standard API call in the Android N platform. So as developers, we'd be able to integrate motion tracking into our applications, and if they have the required hardware, they'd be able to access these motion tracking capabilities. So next up is the depth perception technology, and this is a more Tango exclusive feature, and this uses obviously the depth camera, but it can actually measure the world. So this is going to enrich like countless engineering and design professions, and it's like kind of the forefront of the simultaneous location and mapping. And it can also do, you can do stuff like measure distances and volumes in rooms and live meshing. And so that picture that was just up there, that gotta hold it right again. Actually, that was at TEDx Bozeman that took place in the Commons like a month ago. I actually went around with my Tango tablet and 3D scanned the entire stage and then uploaded it, and so people can view it online now. So the third core feature is actually kind of the one that I feel like is going to change the world for a lot of people, and this is the area learning technology. And this is the sense that right now, like, our phones are very stagnant. They have GPS, they're about 15-meter accuracy, the blue dot on Google Maps. Like, Google Maps can tell us to go to the Commons, but it can't actually tell us like to go to exhibit room B for the lightning talks. And so what area learning is actually going to do is come through and create points of the world using motion tracking to localize points to world coordinates, crowdsource map the entire world, solving this indoor mapping problem. So in the future, once this technology is a little bit more integral in smartphones, people will walk through spaces, creating maps of the environment as they're looking for directions, and then the Tango can go in and actually say, hey, no, here's where you need to be, or here's how to get to this room, because they'll have an understanding of all the indoor mapping points. And so those are like the core kind of features of the Tango platform. And I think the really exciting thing is that just on Thursday, this phone was announced. The first consumer device was announced. It's going to be released in September of this year. It's going to cost $500, and it's a global launch. So starting in September, these technologies will be able to be seen in consumer applications. And there's a lot of push now with like VR applications and AR applications, and people can do that to some extent on mobile platforms currently. But really, because phones do not understand motion, they don't have the immersive sense that like the Oculus would have, for example. And so these technologies will kind of be that next stage going forward. And so I'm like flipping slides and it's just nothing's happening. The cool thing too is there's a wide variety. The development environment for the Tango is really multifaceted, and actually the Tango SDK works in the Java library, so you can integrate existing Android apps pretty easily with the platform. And it works natively in C, which is really fast, so you can do some awesome like chisel 3D reconstruction of spaces in C really efficiently. And then you can also work in Unity in this game engine and create like virtual worlds and games and apps for users to download and enjoy. So that's kind of the basis of what I had. I was going to go into some demos showcasing this technology, but the tablet, the TV. And just I'll showcase the technology because really it speaks for itself. Oh yeah, no sweat.
Just holding up.
I think like the exciting thing about this is that like the idea is that right now smartphones have been pretty stagnant for the last like 10 years. You know, like so they've just been an upgraded version of the 2007 original iPhone, and this technology is the next fundamental upgrade and shift in what a smartphone can do. So.
Talk about coding boot camps today. Just to get you started, a little bit of my background. I must admit I'm not actually classically trained in computer science. My degree is in finance from the University of Montana. Shortly thereafter, I went to work for an insurance company to sell insurance. Riveting stuff, I know. It was actually a blessing in disguise because I got tasked with administering all the in-house software, specifically Salesforce. I shortly found the limitations of drag and drop software, and I started to dig deeper, and for the first time, I found code. The first time I ever slightly changed an Apex function to do something slightly different, I was like amazed. I was like, this is awesome. Like, I need to code. So I spent the next year online trying to learn how to code, but I felt really disadvantaged. I felt kind of siloed. I was in Great Falls. I didn't know literally another developer. So I wanted mentorship. I wanted to accelerate my learning. This is when I found coding bootcamps. I took a bootcamp online. It was a pretty great experience, but it only got me more hooked. So I was like, I'm going to go do a real bootcamp. I'm going to go to San Francisco. This was still pretty early in the days, and everyone's like, you're crazy. They're going to take advantage of you. But I was like, whatever, I'm going to do it. So I spent 3 months coding, like 60, 70 hours a week in San Francisco at the coding house, like obsessively coding. I stayed on with the company for a couple months and continued to work with them, and it was truly a life-changing experience. Like, I could code. I felt like a coder. I was like, this is amazing. But I didn't really want to jump into the rat race thing in San Francisco. I was kind of over San Francisco, but I wasn't ready to move back home to Montana. So I went home. I sold my house. I started a web development company, and I traveled Europe. While I was like obsessively learning online every tool or trade I could use. I was building small apps, just small odd jobs, hanging out with the digital nomad community, starting to meet amazing people that were really doing this type of thing for their life. And it was awesome. It was a great experience. Flash forward about 8 months, I get a call from home. Some folks at home are starting a coding bootcamp. So I was like, that's awesome. They asked me to develop the curriculum and be the lead instructor. So I was like, hell yes, that's great. I can't believe this type of thing is happening in Montana. Exciting. So I moved home, and for the next 9 months, I taught people how to code for a living. And this is when I really discovered my passion. It wasn't just code. It wasn't just teaching people. It was these synergies of the social aspect of helping people code, learning together, and helping people transform their lives, giving them a new tool to find a new path in life. Which led me to co-found Big Sky Code Academy. Basically an opportunity to do this thing on a much broader spectrum. So in general, boot camps have been sweeping the nation since 2011, 2012-ish. There were 6,000 grads in 2014, and then almost triple the amount in 2015. And now they're in our backyards. Now they're in Montana, and they can no longer be ignored. So whether or not they provide value to you specifically or your company is a case-by-case basis. But what I'm here to do is help you understand what that value that they provide is. The number one thing that I run into that really irks me is this thing that's like computer science versus coding boot camps. This is not the Coke versus Pepsi challenge. These are actually two completely different things. A recent study done by TripleByte.com has found that coding bootcamp grads in a group tend to perform better on web programming skills and questions. They tend to write clean and modular code. as opposed to a 4-year degree, but they lose out when it comes to things like algorithms, theories, the understanding of how a computer system actually works. So the study also found that the two groups basically performed equivalent. So the data shows that these two schools are actually producing two different student bodies that have their own unique skills. So how is this possible? How are coding bootcamps becoming employable after just 12 weeks? First of all, these aren't kids fresh out of high school looking to skip college. The average coding bootcamp grad is 31 years old and has at least a bachelor's degree. Secondly, the instructional time period, as opposed to a 4-year degree, isn't as big as a gap as you might think. So these boot camps are really intense. They're 8 hours a day, 5 to 6 hours a day, or 5 to 6 days a week, working directly with mentors and skilled programmers, actually writing code. Thirdly, coding boot camps have seen success by focusing on developing practical skills. They literally spend most of their time reading and writing code and building stuff. So this may not be the recipe for your traditional software engineer. They're probably not going to build an autonomous self-driving car, but they are seeing success in the marketplace for companies looking to hire web developers. The number one pain point I hear about in Montana are companies talking about there's no talent here. Yet, a lot of my talented friends in technology have all left. They've all went to San Francisco and Seattle. And guess why? Lack of opportunity. So what's with this disconnect? I mean, if we want to reverse this trend, we need to continue to produce more computer science grads through traditional education, but we also need to produce more bootcamp grads. National companies across the board, leaders in technology, you're all hearing these stories that they're hiring bootcamp grads now. Uber, Facebook, Amazon, and now it's here in Montana. Wisetail, Smittable, Murdoch's, we even hired bootcamp grads. And I just heard of another one, ATG Group just hired another bootcamp grad. So the trend has been confirmed across the nation, and it's starting to be confirmed here in Montana. So I know most of you guys are developers in here, and I'm asking for your help. Help us shape the future, the next generation of web developers in Montana. Come spend an afternoon with our students, spend an hour with them, depart your knowledge. Help us make this a great program. Critique our curriculum. We're welcoming feedback. Work on being an instructor. So if you want to hear more about what we're doing, text 228 Big Sky Code. And how much time do I have?
Minute 45.
I'd love to take a question or two if anyone has any.
How do you become an instructor?
How do you become an instructor? Come talk to me. We junior instructors, senior instructors, part-time, full-time, volunteer.
How many students did you graduate last year?
24 we graduated 24 with the program I was with last. But we're starting up new in September. We're going to have full-time and part-time courses in Missoula, Bozeman, and Billings.
Thanks for coming. My name's Devin Holmes. I'm going to do a quick lightning talk on Montana Code Girls. Before I start, I want to thank the 8 women in the room for being here. It's the topic of my talk, and specifically, Susie, stand up please. I want to thank Susie, a friend of mine, who designed this logo pro bono for our program. So, as most of you know, anecdotally, and in your jobs, we have a problem. We have a problem in the tech sector. We have a diversity problem in the tech sector. We have a gender diversity problem. We have a racial diversity problem. We have a lot of people that look like me and most of this room, minus 8 of you. And we need to change that. We need more diversity. We need more women. We need more minorities in tech. And this is one of the things that I want to talk about. I don't know if any of you saw the O'Reilly survey this year, but they interviewed globally 5,000 people, software developers, engineers, technical people, and only 8% of the respondents were female. And they also interviewed, when they surveyed them, they asked about salaries. And you can see the discrepancy between male and female salary medians in the technology sector from the O'Reilly survey. But that's only one survey, so you say, well, maybe they didn't get to all the right people. Good point. So we go to Stack Overflow. Stack Overflow surveyed 55,128 people, of which 5.8% were women. This is a problem. As the father of a 2-year-old daughter, who I hope one day will go into tech, I would like this number to change sometime in the next 15 years. So when she gets to college, she will be actually in classes where the gender balance is far more equal. And that was the genesis for the Montana Code Girls initiative that we started. Earlier this year, I saw a documentary film called Code Girl. I'm going to show you a quick trailer for it. And it follows young women in tech, and I was inspired by this. I thought we should show this film in Montana and inspire young girls in Montana to pursue technology careers. So let me show you the trailer. Go internet.
So we should start with the problem.
In our school, we have 67 kids with hepatitis C because of the water.
18% of women engaged in self-harm, and 6% of men said the same.
Drunk driving has plagued
real problems, such as women's safety, waste removal, and childhood obesity.
We see a lot of problems in our town.
We don't have boxes for garbage.
Who knows better the problems in the community than the people? You have business and technology competition, you have the ability to practice your English, learn some new things.
My computer science teacher sent out this huge email to all the students about technovation.
Welcome to the Technovation World Pitch Competition.
We need to find girls to do it. But most of girls were like, no, computer science is for boys.
Only 7% of tech startups are led by women.
And now I feel like I look everywhere and like, that's a problem, and then this app could solve it. This is the next social media button.
We are sophomores and we're all 15 years old.
Join us to promote a cleaner, greener, and safer environment.
We want to make it perfect.
An actual problem and finding a way to solve it. Like, that is a really good feeling.
So we screened this film in Missoula and in Bozeman. We got about 150 people in Missoula. We got about 75 person turnout here in Bozeman. And out of that screening, because really what we wanted to do was just show the film, we got 28 girls between the ages of 9 and 14 who came together to form teams to participate in that Technovation Challenge, that global competition for young girls in technology here in Montana, just off of a screening of a film. And they built apps. We had a teenage team that built an app to tackle teenage depression. We had endangered critters. They were fun. Team Green was one of the teams I coached. Let me tell you, coaching 10-year-old girls is an interesting challenge. I learned a lot. And Team Barkalots, you know, who here has pets? How many times has your pet maybe run away, or you can't find your pet? They built an app for that. These were young girls between the ages of 9 and 14 who did not know how to code when we started this, and in 8 weeks they built these apps. And so we were really inspired by the film and by the fact that the Montana community responded so well. We had volunteer coaches, men and women. We had volunteer mentors who were women come together and support these young girls. And so we took that and we sort of ran with it and said, before I get there, I put some screenshots from Team Moot Toast. I know, I love the name, right? They designed a logo. They wrote a business plan. They did a 4-minute pitch video, which I would show you, but I'd run over time. They did a 4-minute video on how to actually use the app. They built all of these screens, and they got all the questions from medical research on the internet, and you would take the survey, and you would be between a 1 and a 5, and so you'd be lightly toasted to completely burnt toast. And then if you were completely, I know, but it's funny, right? Like, it's 14-year-old girls building this stuff, but it's a serious issue. But then, if you were burnt toast, they actually put these resources. Like, you might actually be depressed. You might be suicidal. We're going to put the Call the Suicide Hotline on there. So this is a real app that they built in 8 weeks without ever knowing how to code. And so we were really excited about that and inspired. And so we decided to take Montana Code Girls, this little pilot we did this winter, and go statewide with it this year, starting in the fall. We're going to do this as an after-school program run through the Big Sky Code Academy at no cost to the young girls who participate. We actually just locked down a place here in Bozeman. We're going to be teaching it at the Bozeman Public Library, which is an awesome building. After school, we're going to teach it in all 3 of our campuses, Bozeman buildings in Missoula. And for girls, we have 2 high school girls in Hardin who want to participate. We're going to support them remotely. We're going to make sure that we get girls statewide that participate. And if we can get 50 girls participating this year, we can hold a regional Montana Technovation competition. And the winners for that, we raise some money for cash prizes. They will slot immediately into the semifinals for the global competition. I think it would be awesome this year to get a Montana team into the semis, into the finals. Let's put them up against the rest of the world, see how we do. And if you want to learn more, stay in touch. Please text MT Code Girls to 22828. Yep, we're constant contact fans. We use them all the time. Join our email list. All our information is coming out this month. Starting in September, we're looking for coaches and mentors. For those of you that have daughters between the ages of 9 and 19, or know someone that does, we'd love for them to be on a team. Thank you, and I think I'm done early. Any questions? 1 minute for questions. Awesome. Thanks, everyone.
Dr. Bozeman High School.
All right, so they said lightning talk, and I was like, cool, it's like 30 seconds. So this will be really fast, but we want to do a few questions. Howdy world. All right, I know it's supposed to be hello world, but I thought you guys would like howdy world better. Or I don't know, maybe you guys like hi world. I don't know. So this is just kind of a guess, and maybe the old hello world is not the best way to do things. But a guess without data, or a decision without data is just a guess. So I'm going to kind of change this a little bit and add a kind of decision API into this. So should it be howdy world, hi world, or hello world? So my goal is which one you guys like best. So, and again, if I'm just making this decision without data, it's a guess. So I'm going to get some data. Who here likes howdy world? Howdy world? Ooh. I might guess is pretty good. Who likes hi world? Okay, a couple. Who's like old school and hello world or bust? Oh, old school won. So I was totally wrong. All right, and that's what happens a lot in our code. We assign constants, and we're basically making guesses. So what I want to look at is going from dumb code that guesses to smart code that learns. Okay, so I want to point out a couple of areas where we are writing potentially dumb code and just making a guess in our code. So anytime that I'm writing some sort of constant or a literal in my code, this is essentially a guess. You know, they're 3 days late. Should I send them a notification now, or should it be 4 days or 5 days? I don't really know, but you know, I'm just going to pick a value and go with it. Now, most of you guys that are more experienced developers know, oh, geez, man, you're hard coding a value right into your code. You can't do that. It's got to be in a properties file or a config or something like that. So you write it a little bit nicer, and you have your defaults, but it's still a guess. That number 3 is still sitting in your code somewhere, even if you decorate it a little bit more. Okay. Other types of guesses that we do in here. There's actually 2 guesses that are in this kind of pseudo query. Can anybody point out the 2 guesses that we're making?
You don't know what they want to sort by. You don't know how many they want to see per page.
The trickier one, pagination is clear because there's number 10 here, so we're going to put 10 results per page. The more insidious one is what we're sorting on. Should we really just be sorting on the default way that the data came back, or in the case of if these are products, there's probably an optimal way to sort these products that we're displaying to ensure that people are going to buy them. Okay, so there's these kind of secret guesses that we put in our code. Okay, Really damning ones are when we're doing things with pricing, okay? And there's 1.3 million apps on the App Store, and I guarantee you most of them that are doing in-app purchases are just totally guessing on the prices, because it's actually kind of a pain in the butt to change them once it's live. So this is kind of an example of different ways that we guess. So let's look at how we start to make decisions, okay? So with the pricing example, I'm gonna give it a list of options, okay? Here's some choices that I can do, and so I have some sort of API that gives me back a decision that I'm going to try. The second piece of it is how I write code that learns, okay? So after I try a price, I'm going to track a couple of events. The price being viewed, okay, and when the price is purchased. With just these two pieces of information, now I know what % of the time they went from viewed to purchase at a given price, and I can actually figure out on average what the best price is for my customers. So very, at a high level, very simple way to write code that starts to learn instead of code that simply makes guesses, okay? I'm going to show you now, that was all kind of pseudocode. This is real stuff that actually works. I have a product that I've been working on called Improve.ai. You can hit this pricing API right now with curl, okay? Most of it is just curl blah, 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 but here's my list of prices, okay? I pass that in, and I'm going to hit my instantaneous Amazon S3 decision. Actually, it's fake PowerPoint. Because that'd be cool if you could like colorize it. Anyway, so it comes back with a little JSON with the decision that I should try this time, okay? For my events, very similar thing. I can send a post request to this endpoint with this little event, viewed true. Here was the price that was viewed. It says good, success. And when the customer purchases, I can send a purchase event with the price. Comes back, success, true. And around I go, and it'll optimize the best prices. So this is kind of what I'm working on, and really thinking about how to write code that is a little bit, more self-optimizing. Any questions? Yeah.
Practical application in the real world, like you say, you are using it. Can you tell more about that content?
So I started doing this. I have a meditation app where I send people daily reminders of some sort of mindfulness quote. And I've written about 150 of them, and I was like, man, what order should they be in? I don't know. And so the sort function, I had it find the optimal order that content should be sorted in. Based on that, I've got it's a solid 5-star rating in the App Store with 350 reviews. It's top 5 in the mindfulness category. I get about 40% retention after my first month. So I use it for things like sorting the order, things like how many days until I should nag them to give me a review. Should it be they've used the app 10 times, 5? I don't know. Just have it figure out. So those kind of things, is what I've used it for in the past.
So you need a certain amount of randomness in order to begin collecting data.
Yeah.
So early adopters are all going to have.
You're going to get some garbage if you're running it for the first week. Yeah. Yeah. But that's the price you pay you have to. You have to learn. You have to actually run the experiments. But it's extremely fast learning. So within hundreds of tests, you're going to have some good data. Yeah.
With what you're working on right now, do you have any way to kind of quantify your certainty in your decision?
I do, but it's not exposed out into the system. Yeah. The certainty can be quantified, but it's just kind of gives you a decision. Keep it simple. Yeah.
It's a naive Bayes? What kind of?
Yeah, it would be under the realm of a Bayesian optimization type of approach.
And do you have other algorithms you're kind of working in?
I've tried some other ones, like really complicated multivariate stuff, but it's a little bit too slow. So the stuff that I'm using gives really fast decisions. Yeah. Other questions?
It's a service?
It's a service. I've got it up and running on AWS. So this is something that I'm kind of exploring and seeing if it's useful for other people. And I literally just put the pricing API 2 weeks ago, so I'm kind of working to see if other developers want to try it out, give me feedback. All right, cool. Thank you, guys.